Hey, welcome back to another episode of the CRNA Club podcast. My name is Sachi. I help you get into CRNA school and give you some tips and strategies and actually helpful tools to make your application process a whole lot less stressful. If you haven't already, go ahead and check out our website, thecrnaclub.com. We have a bunch of free resources, free downloads that you can go take advantage of. We have the science class full. We have a free 30-minute masterclass that is just chef's kiss. So many gems there. Go and watch it. We also have a quiz you can take that'll give you personalized tips on how you can be a more competitive applicant. And we have an AANA state meeting calendar. We've done all the work, scoured all the AANA state meeting websites, put some dates there for you. Essentially, we have lots of freebies. Go check it out, thecrnaclub.com/resources, and I'll link it below. But today I want to talk about picking programs and what not to do. Essentially, this podcast is going to be about basically don't do what I did. And I'm going to be honest with you. And in reality, like looking back in retrospect, I'm like, dang, this is kind of embarrassing how I picked programs like the absolute wrong way. But thankfully, I'm fine. It's all fine. The program I went to was great, excellent. In fact, highly recommend. And it all worked out. But I will say I have heard a lot of horror stories. I've seen a lot of things that would make me question, just not question, but just really put some time into looking at programs and dig deep, go to open houses, ask questions, talk to students, like do your research. Don't just think because it's a big name program, like not program, but like big name university, like an Ivy League program or something, that the CRNA program is going to be good or that it's the best fit for you. In the CRNA world, going to a very prestigious Ivy League, recognizable name university is not going to get you jack squat when you go to apply for a CRNA job. It doesn't matter. There's a CRNA shortage. You're going to get a job. So focus on one that's a good fit for you. Where can you live and work and succeed and thrive for 3 years? And what's not going to break your bank, right? All right. Soapbox done. But essentially, I want to talk about some things that you should do if you are in the school picking process. There are so many excellent programs out there. They have a lot to offer, and programs have different attributes and things that will set them apart from others. So you need to find a program that's a good fit for you and your lifestyle and your family. What works for you may not work for your friend. What works for your friend may not work for you. You need to find a program that is going to help you succeed. Ultimately, it's your responsibility to succeed, but let's not make it harder on ourselves. Okay? All right. So here are 5 things that I overlook when picking a CRNA program that I do not want you to overlook. Number 1, I did not really stock my faculty all that well. I was just going over this today with an intensive client. We were putting some talking points together for her essay, and I showed her, hey, you need to be looking up your faculty members. Let's go through your program director and some other faculty members here and see if they have done any research or have they won any awards or are they on any committees. Sure enough, we looked up her program director, and this program director was the president of a national board and was a very impressive, well-known name. I immediately recognized her name. And that is such an important thing to know, especially when you're answering the question in your essay, why do you want to go to this program? I'm telling you that I would bet to say majority of people who are writing that essay for that school are not going to mention what she is going to mention in her essay. Okay? Look at your faculty, go and look them up, see what they did, what they're proud of, what research they've done. Okay? In our Planning and Applying Accelerator, if you have access to that, go ahead and look at your school cheat sheets. I have all the prompts there for you to write down. I have space for your faculty. I have space for your research and space for you to write notes about them. This is in our Planning and Applying Accelerator. You can find that. I'll link it below, but crnaclub.com/programs. We have a bunch of tools to help your planning and applying process. But anyway, this is one of the things that I am so passionate about, because if you're paying thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to go to school, don't you think the people who run your program, if they are impressive, that's a huge bonus, right? That's something that would make you be excited about going to that program, right? I'm not saying that every school needs to have these like amazing professors, because I think there are so many good faculty members out there that are clinicians and that they are teaching because they enjoy teaching and giving back. So I do want to preface that as well, but I want to say that it's important for you to look up your faculty, look up your program directors, and see what makes them special. Okay, so that is the first thing I want you to do. Don't make the mistake that I did. Don't neglect your faculty. My faculty were so impressive, such badass women, that I'm like bummed I didn't know all these things about them now. All right, number 2, I didn't really look up any special sim or cadaver lab factoids about my program and why that was important. Now in retrospect, I realize it, but at the time, so I went to a school that had a cadaver lab, and there are not many programs in the country that have cadaver labs. And this was so valuable for me learning anatomy, being able to literally touch and feel these arteries and there's these nerves and learn to scale and physically touch it for like tactile learning, especially with nerve blocks and doing more regional. This is such a big deal. So having some really special sim labs or cadaver labs, those are big deals. Not every program has these. So does your program implement some sort of special tool or, AI or some special training facility that makes it a valuable learning experience for you? Take note of that. Don't be like me. All right. The third thing I didn't really do well enough that I overlooked when I was picking a program is I didn't really take note of the clinical site structure. I just took note of the different clinical sites, and I saw that they had most of them in the DC area and Virginia and Baltimore, but there were also some key clinical sites in like New Mexico. There was a remote clinical site. There was also some clinical sites up further in Baltimore. I didn't know that at my particular program, you would be assigned one primary clinical site, and essentially you would be there for most of your clinical training, and then you would rotate out for specialty rotations. Now, I think, learn that when I interviewed for the program and the open house, but that's something you should definitely be considering now with the 3-year programs, especially if you have a family. Like, there are programs that allow you to do the first year remote. Drexel is like this. You can work that first year. You do it remotely. So this is great for somebody who really can't leave their family, or they need to be close by for childcare help. Look for programs that work with you on assigning your clinical sites. Or they say, yeah, you have one primary clinical site. You're going to live near this clinical site. We'll rotate you out for your specialty rotations. Or, oh no, we send you to a different clinical site every month. You kind of need to pay attention to the structure of how they do their clinicals, because essentially schools are competing for clinical sites. They're trying to get you guys good experience, right? So they're going to send you where you're going to hit your numbers, where you're going to get that good cardiac experience, where you're going to get lines and plenty of blocks. So make sure before you really get into the application process for a school, you think about what your life is going to look like for essentially 2 years in that program when you're doing clinical. Really take note of that structure and see if you can talk to some students and see how flexible are they as far as, do you have to move all the time? Are you going to be able to keep your family where you currently live? Think about all those things through. That's the third thing I overlooked, was I kind of didn't really pay that close attention on the clinical site situation. Luckily, okay, I will say this. I was single. I had no kids. I was not married. It was just me, myself, and I could do literally whatever. So part of it was like I didn't care because I was just a free bird. Okay, so that's my little caveat. If I was married or dating or had kids, obviously I would like very much take into consideration all of these different things, but I didn't. So number 4, I didn't know that minimum passing grades on exams was really like a thing, like in the sense of one and done situations can happen in different programs. If you get lower than like an 80 on an exam or an 80 in a class, or if you got lower than an 85, maybe it's not one exam, but like you got lower than an 84 in one of your classes, that's considered failing. I would make sure you know that. I would figure out what happens if you get a C in a class, because that's failing for most programs. What is that cutoff score in a course? Is it 84? Is it 85? Is it 86? Even the C exam, some students can't continue on if they don't pass that C exam. So just something to put on your radar. How cutthroat is this program? What is their policy like on academic probation? That sort of thing. All right, number 5. The 5th thing I overlooked or didn't realize, that I'm passing on to you so you don't have to make the same mistake that I did, is I didn't really realize that this is like where I went to school and the hospitals I rotated at. That's where all my job offers would come from. Now, I will say this, the climate has changed. CRNAs are in hot demand, okay? So if you graduate from a program, yes, those hospitals are going to be trying to recruit you because they know you, they like you, you're going to fit in seamlessly. You already know the flow. It's easy for them, right? You know the staff loves you. So that's where you're going to be getting heavily recruited oftentimes. But I also want you to know that you can get a job wherever you want to work. If you're going to school in Florida, but you want to work in Washington, you can do that. If you are going to school in California, but you want to work on the East Coast, you can do that too. So it's not as big of a deal as it was, say, when I graduated, but I just want you to keep that in mind. If there is someplace that you really can see yourself working, you're like, oh, we've always wanted to settle down in Florida, it's not a bad idea to go to school in Florida because you're probably going to be able to find a job really easy there after you graduate. So not the biggest deal. You can work anywhere, but the hospitals are going to try to recruit you, okay? So overall, when you're looking for programs, really look up your faculty, okay? This is going to help you so much with your essay and your interview. And also it's going to help you make a decision about where you actually want to go to school if you're kind of torn between a couple programs. Also, take note of special sim labs or cadaver labs or any special training, facilities. Not every program has all of these things. Also, number 3, make sure that you take note of the clinical sites, the clinical site structure, how often you're rotating. Do you have to pay for housing? Is the school going to provide housing? How far away are you driving if you have to come back for in-person class? Are the classes going to be online when you're at those remote sites? Are you going to have to be, driving up? Make sure you ask all the questions about the clinical site structure and how you get placed and how much say you have if you can request certain sites or not, if that's important to you. Number 4, make sure you inquire about passing grades for courses and exams and see what their academic policy is. You don't want to be caught off guard. Number 5, think about the fact that you're going to get job offers from the hospitals that you do your clinical rotations at. Not the biggest deal, but something to consider if you really want to stay in a certain area. All right, those are the mistakes that I made and the things I overlooked when I was looking for programs. So do as I say, not as I do. All right, you guys, I will catch you on another episode. I will link those freebie resources for you below. Go ahead and check them out and download them, and I will talk to you soon.